Hello and welcome back to the Camera64 Podcast. I am your host, Alfonso Chavez, and as always, I am coming to you from sunny San Antonio, Texas. And today, guys, well, actually not today, but yesterday, I had the opportunity to get together with an old friend who I haven't seen in a while, but I was more than anxious to get back to her, Miss Davis, who is an artist here in San Antonio. She does fantastic work, portraiture, I guess we can call it. It's kind of similar to what I do as a portrait photographer, but hers come from her mind, from her thoughts. She has ideas in her head, I guess, just like a photographer would, and except it's a little bit different. They come to her and she kind of puts it down on canvas. And she does an amazing job at it, guys. I've seen her do it not only live, I've seen many of her pieces, and she was really excited to share one piece with me one time when I was doing a photo session for her daughter who was graduating a few years back. I want to say maybe a year or two ago we shot her daughter. So I just want to share some of the pictures from this past weekend. So basically, we are out at the Pearl, again, one of my favorite places to shoot. And as always, I am shooting on my Canon 1D Mark III. And why do I always bring that up? Because I want to let everybody know that just because you don't have a new camera doesn't mean that you don't have a good camera. And in particular, today's setup is the 1D Mark III. And for my lens, I'm using a Canon 24-105 f4, which is a kit lens on most 5Ds and 1D series cameras. If you're buying a camera in a kit package, that's normally the lens that you would receive. It's not the absolute best of lenses, but I did have some things in mind when I took this lens out today. Now, this is not a lens that I would normally use on a regular basis, but sometimes I like to challenge myself. And so for this particular shoot, I wanted to emphasize the fact that you don't always have to be using a prime lens, that you're going to be shooting at f1.4 or f1.8 or even f2, that you can also use kit lenses like this f4. And in fact, this is an f4 and I did not shoot it at f4 the entire day. So the challenge you might be asking yourself for this particular shoot was that I decided I wanted to shoot this entire session at f8 or above. Now, I did find myself in a situation where I did have to drop down to the f5.6 because we were in a dark area, and the entire day while we were doing this shoot, as you can tell by this picture that's up right now, it was a really dark, overcast day, so it did kind of present a little bit of a challenge. I guess for somebody who's not, or no, I take that back. Actually, an overcast day can be really good for a new photographer. It gives them some options, and the fact that there's no sun out also increases their chances of getting good pictures if they kind of have a good idea of what they're doing. So my challenge today was, like I said, was shoot f8. And so we're out here at the Pearl, and basically the whole idea for the shoot is Miss Davis, it was in need of some new headshots. And we also had a conversation, kind of discussed what was going on. And she has a new business venture that she's got up and going. And I'm super excited for her because she is also a creative like myself. The medium is a little bit different, but the idea is the same. We have to hustle and work really hard, with the emphasis being on working hard, because we do work hard as creatives. Creating art, it's always a challenge because you're creating something and you're not sure how it's going to be received. Sometimes people will look at your work and say, that looks amazing, while other people may not agree with that. And so it's kind of difficult. It's kind of like in a relationship, I guess. You put yourself out there and you hope that it is well received. So she needed some headshots, and we discussed the fact that, hey, she might forward these and maybe have these put onto some packaging that she might be using for her national company, which is going to be selling worldwide here shortly. So I'm elated. I'm just happy for her because she's been through all the work, and she understands how hard it can be. But anyways, let's get to these pictures. So our settings are going to be pretty straightforward across the board. 2/50th of a second, f8 are most of them, and most of these are shot at ISO 100 to 400 range, depending on what it is that's going on. Obviously, we want to control the light, so the best way to do that is by shooting f8 or f10 or even f11 in some situations, keeping our ISO as low as possible. So basically what happens is, you can tell by this picture that this image would be pretty dark without a flash. So I'm using a flash over to my left hand side, and with these particular settings, only the area of the picture that is being exposed by the large softbox off to my left is lighting the picture, and it allows, when you do it like this is a studio style shot. Even though we're outdoors, you can see the colors are really nice and sharp. So Miss Davis is a beautiful lady. She has beautiful eyes. She's got a really nice high cheekbones, nice dimples here. And the lighting off to the left will also make these areas more pronounced. So it makes her look even more beautiful than what she already is. I loved her outfit. The colors just really popped. They're fantastic. And so here I want you to take into notice this particular setup. I only have one light off to the left, and you'll notice that her hair is a little dark in this area here because there's no light hitting her. So I ended up, after this shot right here, I ended up adding a second light off to my right, and I put a snoot on it, and I just directed it right at her middle of her back of her neck, and you're gonna see it on the next shot here, which is right here. And see, it kind of brings her hair out a little bit there. Let me zoom into that so you can see that a little bit better. And you can see the effect. It's really light. It's not very bright at all. And I think I ended up bringing this up just a little bit more. But see, now you can see kind of an outline, just enough to kind of separate her just a little bit from the background there. And I purposely, in case you're wondering, I purposely left this headroom so that I could incorporate some design up here. She might use it for something else, but for myself, obviously I wanted to make this a title page for my website, and also for Facebook placement, which has her name with Camera64, and I think it looks great. But depending on what you're shooting for, you want to leave a little bit of area, sometimes headrooms, and sometimes you might want to leave areas off to the right or to the left, which is called properly negative space, if you're going to be using it for something else. Again, here we just have her looking straight up at the softbox, and which is always good because it makes her eyes really pop, and you can tell that she's looking straight at it because the softbox is directly at the center of her eyes, which on a normal basis, that's not where we want it, but for these pictures it worked out okay. Here she's just playing around. I took a couple of shots of her. This is a great shot right here. She's looking off to her left, and you can see a little bit more of that light that's coming over here. Now it kind of creates a little bit of highlight. Now I could have fixed this, but I'll be quite honest, I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to stuff like that, because I normally do not correct stuff like that, because I try and get as much of it as I can in camera. And this is a really nice shot too. I really like this. She's really relaxed at this point, so we're kind of just really steaming ahead. So this is something right here. This is a great picture to stop on, because here she kind of moved a little bit. She kind of stepped forward a little bit, and so what happened is the direction of light is no longer going into her eyes, And this also normally is a no-no. Like if I were to see this, if I were to catch it, which I didn't catch it at the time, so it's kind of my fault, but I didn't catch it, and there's no light going into her eyes, and you can see the difference. Just compare this. I mean, which would you prefer, this with the lights in her eyes versus no lights in her eyes? And I did take the time to try and correct it a little bit, but the fact is it's just way too dark in her eye sockets there. I'm not able to really do too much with it, but the picture still looks fine. She enjoyed it. She liked it. So this is almost an entire profile. And the way I set this up is I have her look over to the right of the softbox there, and then I have her come back to me. And as I'm looking through the viewfinder on my camera, I'm turning her back just enough to where I can see the white of her eye on the opposite eye. So this is her main eye, which is the one closest to the camera. Obviously, this is where I'm focused at. And then I just have her do full profile, and then I just have her turn back just enough where I can see this other eye. And this is one of my favorite poses for ladies. It's fantastic. Her hand on the collar too, which is great. But she herself was doing a really good job. And you can see that backlight working perfect, just enough, not too much, just enough to get rid of some of that shadow area back there. And this is another one of her just looking straight up at the softbox, and you can always tell that look by looking at the highlights in the eyes there. And let's look at our settings. Yep, I'm still at the same 2/50th of a second f8, and I'm switching back and forth. 46 essentially is a 50 millimeter, so that's where I'm at. Still at ISO 200. And one of the things about this camera, guys, I always like to mention this a lot because this is an old camera. This camera was originally released in 2007. And you know, I talk about this camera a lot because this is a camera that I really wanted when I first started my business, actually in 2007. But at the time, $6,500 was just way out of my price range. I could have bought this camera, but I wouldn't have been able to buy anything else. So obviously, it wouldn't have been a good choice on my part had I bought the camera and not gotten anything else. So here we are. This is the next little setup here. We moved just down, or maybe not even 30-40 feet away from where the other setup was. But this setup, she chose herself. She really liked the train. She liked the color, the yellow, the contrast of the red, and her outfit actually just kind of fits in perfectly. And without even trying, also one of her paintings that she has here has yellow and red in it as well. So it just kind of all worked out. It's got kind of a good vibe to it, a good feel. Everything seems like it's in place, which was fantastic. Some of the challenges that we had with this particular shot is the fact that on top of that train, that entire deck area is maybe about 9 feet from where the her foot is at. The edge of that entrance door right there to the train to where I'm standing at is about maybe 9 feet, maybe 10 feet, which doesn't give me very much room at all. And so essentially what I had to do is I had to kind of sneak around the rail, and I'm actually hanging off of the rail to get this shot so I could back up far enough to get this in. That was the first challenge. The second challenge was the fact that I have my softbox, which is I'm using a 46 inch softbox, the Glow, and I was getting my big old reflection right here in this mirror. I really did like the reflection because of this right here behind. You have the horse stables, which came out in the mirror. In the glass, looking really nice. But we did have some clone and stamp here. And if you're looking at it really close, you can obviously see it. It almost looks like it's broken. But normally, if I didn't point this out, most people would not even realize that there was anything other than what should have been here when you're looking at it as a whole. But overall, the picture work came out great. It took a little bit of Photoshop to get this out. You can see still in the paint, the yellow paint here, that my softbox was in fact there. But overall it looks great. I like it. This was actually my second best shot of the morning, and we just continued on. We took a couple of different views, and then she decided that she wanted to take some shots without her artwork, and so we went ahead and set her up, same location. We kept our light in the same spot, and we just took a couple of different shots there. I let her work. She wanted some full bodies, and this is what we got. She's just having a good time. She was a lot of fun to work with. I really enjoy people that just kind of cut loose and have fun with it. That's what photography is all about. It's more about the expression more than anything. Everybody's got their own style, and I'm sure that her family and friends looking at this would instantly recognize that it was her, because she's got her style. So on this particular picture right here, the amount of the softbox is kind of small. It kind of shows up right here and then right behind her, right in this area right here. So I went ahead and left it in. I could have been really meticulous and gotten this out, but I went ahead and left it in, and I purposely left it in here so that you could take a look at it and see where it was that my softbox was at. But there it is. And I really like the way this glass looks over here to the right with the staple. It almost looks like it's a painting on the right hand side. I really like that, how that looks. So now we've stepped off from the train, and literally right next to the train. Now we're like 4 or 5 feet away from the train. There's this small kind of wall there that's got some metal wrapping on it. It kind of looks like siding on a home, except that it's made out of a metal. I'm not sure if it's aluminum or what it is, but anyway, it's got a nice metal sheen to it, and it's kind of a little dark in color. So again, I went ahead and set up a shot that would be something that you would shoot in a studio setting. And keep in mind, you can tell by the last picture that, we're shooting these right in the middle of the day. It's around 11, 12 o'clock, somewhere like in there. So it's full sun, and again, I took my settings and I went up to F10 because I wasn't getting my picture dark enough to my liking. And then what I did is I went ahead and placed her, and then directly behind her I have a small speed light going off, and it has a snoot on the speed light, and it's creating this nice little circular pattern. And again, only the areas behind her that without that strobe there, that back would be really, that area behind her, the background would be really dark. So you can see kind of the drop off, and you can see where that light is hitting on the wall, which is creating that nice little white area directly behind her head. And then of course I've got my main light, which is again my softbox, and this time I do have it in a little bit closer, so that way I don't have to fire it at full power. I think I was at a quarter power or an eighth power, somewhere along those lines. And it's essentially when you do that, and you'll learn this as a photographer, you don't want your flashes, you don't want to have to fire your flashes at full power continuously, because it just tears up your flashes, and it also tears up the battery, and the battery may not last. Although these flash points are really good, and you can actually get through an entire session shooting them at full power during the day and still be okay. But I just don't like to push my equipment that hard, so that way they'll last a little bit longer. So here I am on this particular shot. My settings ended up being 2/50th of a second f8, and I'm at ISO 100, and I'm about maybe 3 or 4 feet away from her, and these are really nice tight headshots. No cropping. This is the crop that came out of the camera. There's no cropping involved. And again, this camera, like I always talk about, it's only 10 megapixels. These look amazing for 10 megapixels, guys. So if you feel that you have a camera that doesn't have enough megapixels for whatever reason, whether that is full frame or crop, this camera is 10, and look how beautiful that looks. You can see all the details in her eyeshadows, her eyelashes, her teeth look amazing, her lips fantastic, and you can see all the detail in her hair. So I don't want to hear from anybody out there that, oh, my camera's not good enough. Well, no. If this 14-year-old digital camera that shoots 10 megapixels can give me a picture like this, then your 25 or much larger camera with a lot more pixels will give you just the same results. It's not about your camera, it's how you use it. So here we're just kind of mixing it up. I told her to mix it up, nothing fancy here. I'm not directing her too much at this point because she kind of took over. I helped her out in the first few, and then she just kind of took over. You'll notice that when you shoot people, they'll get more and more comfortable as the session moves along. So at this point, this is all her right here. She is one beautiful woman. She's got the really nice high cheekbones right in there, which I really like. She's got beautiful lips. Her eyes are just fantastic. Look at that. So she's just having fun at this point, and so am I. This one is amazing. I really like this picture right here. This one I'm actually thinking about maybe printing this and giving it to her because I think she would really enjoy this. This would look really good in her living room, on her living room wall. Beautiful smile there. And then I had her close her eyes for this because I wanted to highlight the color. She had that nice gold with the orange. I thought that the combination looked fantastic. So here I am. If you watched my last episode, you heard me talk about a building that I like to shoot it at the Pearl, and it's just something about the building. I don't know what it is exactly, but I just really like because it. Again, just read what it says. It's got stories to tell, pride. It shows the Pearl. It shows a little bit of history about what the Pearl is all about. But her in this outfit, she makes this scene just come to life. After I took this and I looked at it at the back on the back of the camera, I showed it to her and I said, "Look, Miss Davis," I said, this picture right here, it almost looks like a stamp or something. Remember those limited edition stamps that the Postal Service was putting out? It had like the Christmas scenes and there was a whole bunch of different ones, but it just looks like a stamp, to be honest. It's really nice. The backgrounds are nice. She looks fantastic in here. And then we started running into problems, and you'll see what it is. Can anybody tell me what that is? The sun came out and it just really blew up my shot. So this picture is really overexposed. It's really obvious if you look at her face, her cheeks. This picture is overexposed. So what happened here, one of the other challenges, aside from the fact that I was trying to use a larger f-stop for the entire shoot, though the other challenge is I'm trying to challenge myself to shoot more JPEG. And the reason why is because I want to be able to deliver the pictures a little bit faster and get the editing in faster. And it works out great, probably 80% of the time. But then we have this issue when we have full control of the light here, and then that sun comes out and it presents a big problem, a really big problem, because we have a super high contrast image and it's hard to get right. I mean, I can do it. Trust me, I know if I was going to set this up, knowing full well that the sun is going to be out, I could definitely do it. But when it's cloudy and then sunny and then cloudy and then sunny, being that I'm a manual shooter, it can present a lot of problems, which is what was happening with these pictures. So to alleviate that and to give myself a little bit more latitude, I went ahead and switched the camera from JPEG over to RAW, knowing well that if that should happen, I have a little bit more room. So here's another picture in JPEG, and you'll see if you can notice where the change is at. Again, you can see right here, she's got, it's still a little bit hot, a little bit hotter than what I would like. Even on her arms, you can see it right here in the white itself. There's no detail there. That's the telltale sign that you're overexposed. It's not having any detail in white areas of the picture. Same thing, we're still moving along. Sun's kind of can't make up its mind if it wants to be out or stay in. So here it is. At this point right here, I went ahead and switched over to RAW, and because I didn't want to miss any more pictures, I knew that I was missing these, even looking at them on the back of the camera. And that's another thing that with practice, you will start to be able to read your pictures simply by looking at them. Using the histogram is always great too, but you'll get to the point where you just see them on the back of the camera, and you'll know that it's overexposed. And I knew exactly that was exactly what the problem was, is I needed to correct it. So here we are in RAW. And the one thing I want you to notice, people always talk about what's the difference between JPEG and RAW. Well, a JPEG file out of the camera seems to always be over sharpened for whatever reason. It seems to be oversaturated. Now you can make adjustments. If you go into the settings of into the menu of your camera, you'll find settings that will allow you to adjust for saturation and sharpness, contrast, and let's see, tone. I think it's tone. Yeah, tone. Now you can probably play around with this, but the thing is that the situations are always changing, so it makes it a kind of a difficult thing to do. But once you switch into RAW, it just gives you the opportunity to make all those adjustments after the fact. So now your concern no longer is about color, but more about getting the exposure correct, or in this particular case, getting it in the ballpark, because even if it's off by 2 stops, you can recover that. As long as you're not completely blowing it out, you can recover it. And so you're going to see in these pictures right here, look at that, how beautiful that is. They're not as sharp. Although if that's a look that you like, you can definitely add sharpening after the fact. But you have the control. I mean, I really like the way these look without the sharpening. And in general, I'll be honest with people, I generally do not sharpen any more than what comes out of the camera. Even when I shoot RAW, see, like these, there's no sharpening added, and you can tell. And I really like the way it looks. So that's why I shoot RAW, and I've been shooting RAW, but I'm gonna try and change that up. Maybe I just need on the JPEG, I just need to bring back the sharpening of the picture. It's a fantastic shot right here. And this is crazy. Look at this shot right here. This is shot at f8. I'm at 85 millimeters. 200th of a second, ISO 100, and even at f8, I still have some background blur. So for people that say, "Oh, I can't. If I shoot f8, I'm not gonna get no background blur." Yeah, you just gotta zoom in a little bit. So if you own a 55 to 250 and you're not getting background blur, you're not using your lens correctly. That's simple. So here we are. We stepped into a really dark area. And I was having to turn my flash up, and I just didn't like the way this was looking up here at the top. There was just way too much light here, being that I'm starting with a really dark exposure, f8. So I made some adjustments, and I ended up coming down to 5.6 and bringing my shutter speed down to 1/25th of a second, ISO 100, and I brought my strobe down. I think originally I was firing it at 1/4 of a power, and I ended up bringing it to 1/16th power, and I ended up with a pretty nice exposure. See, the light is falling more on her than the background, so you can tell the difference. And one thing about underexposing, guys, a lot of people don't realize this, but when you underexpose your photos, even without a flash, if you slightly underexpose, your colors are going to be a lot more saturated. Same thing with flash. When you're adding in flash, if you're just adding a touch of flash and not overdoing it, because if you overdo it, you start to lose saturation. And that's one of the compliments that I get a lot of, is in the compliment is the saturation of the pictures. People really like the colors to really pop like that. See, this picture is slightly overexposed, but it's nice. It still works. But you can tell that the blues and oranges just don't have the same pop in it. Same thing here. See how it kind of loses the colors kind of lose their luster a little bit here. I mean, the pictures are all okay, but they're not like super fantastic. That's not to say that the picture's not nice, because it is. She really liked this. I really like this still. Now this is the pose that I really like. It just looks good. Her hair looks amazing. I really like that. My only thing I would do to correct this is I would have had either pushed her away, have her push her chin away from me to make it a full profile picture, or have her bring her chin back towards me just a tad more to have her eye more visible here. That would have been the only change, but I really like her hair. See, now this right here, this is exactly what I'm talking about. See, full profile, look at that. This, my friends, is a beautiful shot right here. Look at that. I really like this a lot. So I want to take the opportunity to thank Mrs. Davis. It was great to have her back in front of the camera again, and I am super excited for her. I really hope that some of these pictures end up being something that she can use. And gosh, what would be better than a product placement? You know, I've had the opportunity to be on magazines before, both digital and actually print. So, but I've never been had a picture, one of my pictures on a packaging. That would be fantastic. Let's see how it works out. Hopefully she will forward these to her higher ups, and maybe they'll pick something. Maybe I can end up licensing a picture to them. That would be fantastic. But we want to thank Miss Davis for choosing Camera64. We know that she's got lots of choices, and there's a lot of people out there doing what I do. Some people just as passionately as I do it, and maybe others not as much. So I know that she has choices, and we appreciate the fact that she chose Camera64. So thank you, Miss Davis. Thank you, and we wish you nothing but the very best. We look forward to working with you again soon. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this edition. Thanks for spending some time with us and allowing me to share some of the things that I like to do and talk about, and sharing some of the ideas that went into some of these pictures. If you are liking our channel, we'd like you to subscribe to the Camera64 video channel, and also if you would push the notification button, that would allow us to notify you every time that we post a new video. Right now I do not have links, but I will be adding links in the future. And if you should decide that you see something that I present here on this channel, if you would use our links, we would greatly appreciate it. It would help you to bring out some more ideas and improve the Camera64 podcast. If you have anything that you would like to see us photograph, or if you would like to be photographed and would like to be included in this podcast, please feel free to let us know. We would be more than happy to work with you guys. So till next time, guys, you take care. Don't concentrate too much on getting everything right in the beginning. Just go out and have fun. Enjoy photography. That's really what it's all about, is having a good time, enjoying it. And if you can make a little bit of money all along the way, I say why not? Go ahead and do it. So till next time, guys, you take care and you keep shooting, guys. Keep shooting. Till next time, you take care. Bye-bye.